Hi, I'm Connor Fowler,
And I'm Matt Smith.
and today it is our distinct pleasure to welcome the erudite educator, the master of the mosh pit, the metalcore maven, the dashing drummer, the Seiko savant, the champion in chinos, the pristine pug dad. We won't curry any favor with this intro. Here's Shane Curry.
That's it? That's all you... that was all right. All right, I'll take it. I am wearing a Seiko right now, and I am moshing, so that works.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, where are you from?
I was born in Manhattan, like on Manhattan Island proper, but I grew up in Queens, and I moved further out onto Long Island when I was about 11 or 12, and I've been out here ever since.
Oh, man. Yeah. How old are you, Shane?
I just turned 37 this past summer.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm getting up there, you know.
I just turned 39 like
a
week ago. So,
that's all right.
Yeah, in the same sphere, for sure.
Yeah. What can you do?
Yeah, you know, life has a way of moving forward. So.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I mean, sometimes it freaks you out, but you can't stop it. So got to embrace it.
So Shane, we're gonna ask what you're wearing today for our new ensemble investigation.
All right. Well, today was Sunday, so I just ran a few errands this morning. So I have on some brown cords that are polo, thrifted, of course.
Nice.
Wearing one of those Viella wool cotton button-ups, just old Land's End. And some white Vans. It was just an easy day. So
Clean.
Yeah, very clean, very seasonally appropriate.
Yes, it's actually cold here today. It's like in the 30s. So yeah, and I have the new Seiko Rolling Blazers watch on. That's a new guy. So I'm wearing that.
And that is a nice one. Yeah.
I got the blue dial. It's really cool. I like it.
Are you kind of a watch connoisseur?
In a way, yes. In a bigger way, no. I'm purely driven by aesthetics. I know a little bit about them here and there. My good friend Ed, who I used to play music with, we're still good friends. He works for Worn and Wound, so him and I get to geek out about watches when we hang out and stuff like that. So I know more than I probably, what's the word? I'm not like an expert, but I know enough, I guess.
A hagiographer.
Yeah, I'm more of like just a fan. I'm not like I'm not a movement guy. I'm not like a luxury guy. If I see it, I like it. I like smaller watches, 40 millimeters, like my Max. It's just aesthetics. I just like it.
Solid, man. I, as a watch wearer every single day of my life, like I appreciate the fact that people still wear watches.
Yeah. I used to just wear them pretty much like on the weekends, but I'm trying to wear one every day just because I actually sold a bunch. I probably have about 6 or 7 now. I used to have like a dozen. Nothing crazy. But I like to wear one every day. And now that I do, I'm used to it,
Yeah.
I actually use it to tell the time, crazy.
Oh, totally.
I can't go without. I mean, do you find it useful? Do you find it useful in work?
I do actually. I wear just an old Timex I thrifted. It's quartz, so it's really light. I don't care if it gets beat up. And I do wear it to work. And if we're doing, we're doing like stuff with the kids, like we have them on the playground, or we're doing like recess stuff. We got to keep track of the time, so it's better than taking your phone out, taking your eyes off the kids. So yeah, it actually became useful the more I wore it, which obviously.
Yeah. Well, you get to avoid the Mr. Curry, does your phone have YouTube on it? Can I use it?
Yes, there are a few kids that are very. I mean, it's amazing because they're very young, but they know what phones are. They know what iPads are. So one kid calls it. He says, "Oh, your timer. That's your timer," and he points to it. Yeah. And I'm like, "Yep, that's my timer."
That's solid, man.
Yeah.
Solid. Dude, Shane. So you were born in Manhattan, grew up for a while in Queens, and moved to Long Island. Like, I lived in Brooklyn for a few years, and it 2011 to 2014, and having gone back since then, I've noticed a whole lot of changes in the city. But from your perspective as someone that's kind of been around the city for
Mhm.
their entire life, like what are the crazy changes that you've kind of seen the city go through?
I think the city itself, I mean, again, I started going to the city when I was maybe 14, 15 from the island to see bands.
Right, right,
Roseanne Ballroom, Irving Plaza, all those places. So back then, all I cared about was getting on the train, seeing the band, going home. As I got older and I started getting into clothing, and I would, look up what retail stores are in the city, stuff like that. That's the biggest thing I see in terms of, I think retail things close and open so quickly sometimes.
right, right,
Um, Up until this day, I mean, stores either move locations or just close because the city's expensive. I would say just things like that. Just retail moves so quickly. There are parts of the city that still feel like old New York if you want to go in and just like walk around a neighborhood. But the broader picture is that it's Manhattan. It moves so fast that sometimes it's hard to notice. But if you take a second and look, you're like, oh wow, I used to go to this venue, I used to go to this store, and you blink and they're gone.
right, right,
So it's such a small moment in time, even though when you're younger, it's like, oh, this place will be here forever, but it's definitely not.
right. Have you noticed that like since 2020 it's accelerated at all, or is it just kind of like New York has always been?
I mean, when all that was going on a couple of years ago, spring 2020 up until about that fall, I didn't go into the city just because I had no need to, and also everything was closed pretty much. But
Right.
when I went in, it was like maybe November 2020. Ironically, because a store I liked was closing, and I was going to get some stuff for cheap.
What store
Um,
was that?
Kamakura, the shirt company.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Damn, they closed?
they were closing. They were blowing out their shirts for like 40, $50 a piece.
Holy shit.
So I went in specifically for that, and it was pretty empty then. That was 7 months after it all started.
Right.
Um, so it's Manhattan. It bounced back. It will always be there, but there's definitely some things even a couple of years ago that are gone and or
Right.
just moved. It's expensive, things like that. So
Yeah,
many factors.
finding a different neighborhood that you can actually afford as a
Mm-hmm.
business, those kind of things. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm well versed in that kind of the that kind of landscape in New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. But I love it. I mean, I love the city. I'm never gonna not love it.
Oh, totally, totally.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
not maybe because I don't live there. If I lived there, maybe I wouldn't. But
right, right. Yeah. So we're gonna get into music later on, just
sure.
FYI. However, I want to know your favorite venue that you used to go to as a kid.
In the city or just in general?
Uh, let's do in the city and then also Long Island.
I think in the city, just because it was the first big one I went to was Roseanne Ballroom. That was, heading on the train. I was 14, 15 with my brother, a couple of friends. It was within walking distance of Penn, and it was the first time seeing bands that I found myself in like a big setting. I think it capped at like 3,000 people, 2,500 people.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty solid. Like,
Yeah, and
mid-sized venue.
that was the venue. I mean, the first time I went there, I saw Dashboard. This was the weirdest show. Ready?
Oh shit.
Yeah, Dashboard Confessional opened.
Okay.
Snapcase. I want to say Face to Face and H2O. I forget who played when.
Oh my
But
god.
yeah, and then I
Yeah.
went back. Yeah, it was just.
What
But it was,
what year was that? Do you remember?
I want to say that was. Holy moly! I graduated high school in 2003. That might have been 2001 or two. So I think
Okay.
Swiss Army Romance had just come out, so that's why he was opening. I want
Right.
to say
Right.
2001 or two.
Damn.
Probably two.
That's a great show. Very reminiscent of like the music or the underground music scene at that point, where everybody else.
Yeah, because everyone supported each other, and it was like, oh, just hop on this tour, get your name out. But I saw so many great shows there, and then from there, Irving Plaza, which is still around.
Right.
The Knitting Factory was great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was
I
cool
forget.
because it was two. They had smaller shows downstairs, and then like the main national tours would play upstairs in the bigger room. So I mean, I saw like I mean, Catch 22 headlined over Taking Back Sunday there. Like, so these crazy times back then.
Right. Totally.
But I would say overall, I think Roseland, just because it was the first big experience with bands that I found myself, you know, not counting like concerts you would go to when you're a kid, like with your parents.
Right.
Yeah. On the island, that's tough because you probably know Long Island, like venues come and go like every 2 minutes.
Totally.
But there was a place called the Downtown in a town called Farmingdale, which is like 10 minutes from me, that had every tour you could think of from like 2000 to maybe 2006 came through the Downtown. I think like Unearth shot a video there. Like so many bands used it for videos. And now it's some like wing like chicken place now, but
it's just, because of course it is.
Yes, but I think the Downtown was the big Long Island one, and there was also a smaller. It was just a VFW in a town called I think it was in Ronkonkoma, a town called Ronkonkoma. This place called the Hungarian Hall, which I mean, I know we're doing music later, so I'll save it for later. But that was the first time where bands I was in, I first played like a VFW was this place, and that was massive tours went through this little VFW. It was just so interesting.
That's awesome.
Yeah, really cool. I missed it, but
yeah, you know, yeah, times change, unfortunately.
That's it. What can you do?
So I was going to ask you to get us back on track. What do you do? What do you do for work?
Up until last summer, I actually was a manager for a chain of supermarkets on the Long Island that actually got bought out. Now they're gone. I did that for a while. I really liked it, but it was getting to the point where I just wasn't a big fan of the scheduling, just logistics, stuff like that. And I actually lived down the street from a school for kids with special needs, you know, things like that. And I was like, you know what? I think I'd be good at that. And I just changed gears, and now I work with kids with special needs, like speech issues, like autism. And I've been doing that for a year and a half now. And I love it. They're about ages like 2 to 5 in that range. And I work with great people, and I live on the same block as my job, so I have no commute.
Oh wow!
Whoa! See, that's like worth $1 million.
That's the thing. I mean, my old job, there was a lot of, you know, oh, can you go to this store instead of this store today? They need more help than this store. So I'd be like going around all these different towns. And this is like, oh, it's I have work at 8. I can leave the house at 7:59. You know,
Beautiful.
I have a school schedule. I have weekends off, and I actually like most days I look forward to it.
That's really cool, man.
And I'm not saying like look at me, but I jumped right in, and I know I'm good at it. Like I'm not gonna say, hey, I'm the best, but I mean, I just jumped in and I really love it. And I'm gonna explore more levels of teaching as I go on, but it's really great. I love it. And the kids are, some days are better than others, but they're really great. And it's nice to look forward to going to work, at least some of the days,
yeah.
which is nice. I work with great people. I love it.
Yeah, there are plenty of menswear goons that are in education. I think part of it is that there still is kind of a dress code, but then I think too, people who find their way to education are not, maybe half of them are in a non-traditional path, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just figuring their way out in their career, and they just find a school and they start working in a school. And so I was going to ask, you don't have to dress up for school really. And 2 to 5 year olds are respecting adults because they're taller. But so do you go to work dressed up just because you like it? Because for me, it's different because I sort of am trying to, like, I don't know. It's not like show the kids who's boss, but it's like, here I am, an adult, right?
Yeah, I get that. I do in terms like sort of like today. If it's obviously weather, it's a weather thing first of all, but like I did some stuff. I worked over the summer because there's summer classes in summer school, and I was wearing like shorts and like a polo shirt because it was so hot. But regularly, yeah, I have like work designated clothes because we do art and stuff like that. Things can get messy. So I have a few pairs of chinos, some pairs of cords, and just some Oxfords. I just kind of mix and match. Um, I try to at least wear an Oxford and like chinos or cords every day, and I'll just do white Vans, or I'll do like not boat shoes, sort of like a camp mock.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah, and it's funny because I do get people go, "Oh, you look so, what's the occasion?" Stuff like that, and they're just poking fun. But for me, I feel better. It sounds funny, but even like mentally, I feel better.
No, it's real. It's very
You know,
powerful.
if I just put an Oxford on, tuck it in, and everything is comfortable. Like everything I'm wearing it's secondhand stuff. Like everything is broken in and it's
Broken in,
worn.
yeah.
So if a kid gets paint on my shirt or whatever, it's like, whatever, I'll just throw it out. Or maybe I'll just wash it and wear it.
Yeah, totally, totally.
So I'll wear something like that. Like somewhat of a uniform. Also too, so I don't have to think about it much in the morning. Like I'll blue Oxford, brown chinos, white Vans, and I wear like my lanyard, and sometimes I'll throw in like a quilted vest just so I have some pockets. And then that's
Mhm.
good. Or I have like a cotton, I have like when we did like parent teacher, I was wearing like a cotton sport jacket, like something easy, just you look put together, but it wasn't as if you got up at 4 a.m. and started getting ready type of thing.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
So it's easy.
Yeah. And if you get paint on an Oxford shirt, you move it from the work clothes to the casual at home clothes.
Yeah. To, mow the lawn clothes or give the dogs a bath clothes, maybe stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So it's nice.
So are you like the best dressed person at the school? It's a
Um,
loaded question,
it
but
is.
I think you know what I mean.
I think I mean, it's funny because you might know this being in education. There's not a lot of men, especially in early education, that
Oh
I've
yeah.
seen.
No, yeah.
I'm gonna say off the top of my head, in my building, there might be maybe 6 or 7 guys in the whole building. So I don't want to say I'm best dressed, but I definitely do think I probably put a little bit more thought into it. Um, Most likely because those guys probably aren't into clothes like I am, you know,
Right,
Mhm.
right.
which is fair. Everyone looks fine. It's just some people. Uh, I mean, we work with young kids. I mean, you're allowed to wear pretty much whatever you want. So I won't name names, but I've seen people in Crocs and sweatpants. So what can you do?
Oh,
But it's
yeah.
comfort. It's comfort. You're chasing kids on the playground. You're things like that. We have a gymnasium. They go to the gym, so you want to be able to move around.
Totally.
But yeah, best dressed, that's subjective, but I do get a lot of people who go, "Oh, but people do, like, jokingly and lovingly will comment on now that it's getting colder, I'll wear, like, a coat, and it's like, "Oh,
You
I like
got
that
the
coat."
polo coat.
Oh, that doesn't go near work. No way. No way. No way. But the other day, I had this, like an old duffel coat on, and everyone's like, "Oh, what are you dressed for?" I'm like, "Well, I don't know, it's just to me, it's just a coat." But to them, I guess it looks I guess because it's different. You don't see it that often, whatever. But you know what? Forget it. I am best dressed. I'll say it.
There we go.
There we
See,
go.
there we
Yeah.
go.
Long-winded, yes.
We're
Yes,
fluffing
yes.
you up. We're fluffing you up for the
I hope
next
no one
Right.
at my job
questions.
listens to this.
Yeah, I mean, even still, I bet you're gonna, if they do, they'll get a little bit of, or
Maybe
you'll
they'll
get a little
agree,
bit
which
of
would be
positive
nice.
attention.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
dude. One thing that Connor and I both kind of noticed in preparation for this episode is you look so fucking comfortable in basically anything you're pictured wearing. Like
Okay.
nothing ever seems contrived. Like as three clothing people, like just how do you manage like to just pull that off?
I th- I mean, I think about this stuff way too much, so I have an answer
Of
immediately.
course,
I
of
think
course.
it's just I think it's when I found my lane, so to speak, when I found what I liked in terms of clothing, that was it. It it's sort of like you arrive, like, oh, this is my clothing journey is ending and beginning here because I found what I love. So I'm going to take that and run with it. But I also know myself enough to know that I'm going to stick with this and I'm just going to hone it and kind of perfect it. So that's
Right,
what it was.
right.
When I found this sort of, I don't know, like traditional classic menswear, Ivy prep type of thing I like, I know myself enough to know that I'm never going to be head to toe in Supreme or something like that. Which I know people who are, and it's great.
Totally,
You know?
totally.
I know people who can weave in and out of that stuff, but I know I wouldn't feel comfortable in that stuff, and it's not me. So I think that's what I think it's knowing myself and knowing what I like, and that just what's the word? That just like amplifies the confidence.
Oh, for sure, for
You
sure.
know?
And I think what you said a few minutes ago about having a uniform, like
Mhm.
I that is very much how I like to feel also. And so when you find that uniform, you kind of are just like, I'm home.
That's it. That's what it was. When I first started getting into this stuff, and I was like, wow, this world of this type of these types of items and pieces and stuff. I'm like, this is it. It just clicked in my head. And that was almost a decade ago. And I still, that's just what I like. People I know people, like I said, I know people who like to experiment and like to mess with different um, cuts and different everything. I love seeing that, but I know that that's not for me. And
For
I
sure.
think if I did that, it would look like a costume, or I'm dressing, I'm like cosplaying sort of. I don't like that stuff. That's not me.
Right, right. Yeah, like
Yeah.
the clothes are wearing you versus the opposite.
Yeah, like I put something on, it's like, oh, this. It sounds funny, but it's about how it feels. I put on like an old Shetland, or you mentioned that polo coat I found. You know, that to me feels like, oh, I was meant to wear this. This is for me. I don't have to think twice about it. Some people go shopping, they try things on, they're like, I gotta think about it. No, I either like it or I don't. Nothing really grows on me. I kind of know it. It's not like music where you can hear a song and it takes a little bit, a few listens and you're good. It's just like, oh, this coat, I love it or I don't. That's it.
Yep.
It's pretty simple, but it might take people a while to get to that point.
Certainly. Certainly. Is that also why you prefer glasses over contacts, as we're all three spectacle wearers?
Yes. I mean, one, sticking something in my eye freaks me out. I don't want to do that.
Dude, I feel you entirely.
I don't. I've seen too many gross, scary movies with I don't want eye stuff. I don't want to deal with that. But it's also part of your outfit. You can,
Yeah.
a darker. I just changed out my frames the other day. I have like 3 or 4 pairs of glasses. Mostly ones I've thrifted the frame and got relensed. So it's not that expensive, and 3 or 4 pairs that look a little bit different, darker frames, clear frames, like a tortoise shell. Yeah, like you said, it's like the top. It's like the last thing you can add to your outfit, which is nice.
For sure.
I'm,
For sure.
I'm not a big accessory person, so besides a watch, so changing your glasses can change your entire look, obviously. So yeah, and now I've been wearing them since I was 7 years old, so they're just part of me.
Oh, yeah. Same here. I think I got mine similar. Like, I was like 11 or so.
Yeah, so it's just
And yeah,
when
I feel naked without them.
that's the thing. When I was a kid, I didn't want to wear them, and then I got to a point. I'm like, I don't want to never not wear them,
Right.
ever not wear them, because I feel funny without them.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah. Since you have a few pairs, also, I went through a period last year where I broke literally 3 pairs in a month. I broke the ones I
That
was
sounds
wearing.
like exactly like your life.
Yeah.
That sounds like something so appropriate.
What were
Yeah.
you doing?
I don't even know. They just fell apart. It's like the pair, the backup pair, and then the
Mhm.
second backup pair all in a month. And I'm like, all right, I have to remedy this situation.
Yeah, I try to keep. I've gotten better with it, where I try to keep them in their cases and like I put them away, because if I leave them on a table or something like that, yeah, they'll most likely something will happen to them.
Yeah.
I haven't broken a pair in a while, but I had like a thin wire pair that just got. I don't know. They were just really. They were secondhand, and I got them relensed. Um, but I go for like the thicker, like a little thicker frame,
Yeah.
and I just got to be careful with them.
Totally.
But things happen. What can you do?
once in a while your dog gets a hold of a pair.
Not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
that's good. That's good. I've
Not
had that
yet.
experience before.
Not yet. We'll see. That's funny.
So were you interested in clothing before thrifting, or thrifting before clothing? Did they come together? I mean,
I think it stemmed. The short answer is yes. I think it stemmed from, again, a lot of it goes back to music. Being a kid, seeing bands I liked, and I was like, oh, they look cool. It sounds so simple and so silly, but I'm like, oh, seeing a music video, I'm like, oh, that band looks cool. I grew up obviously in the 90s, and I came up with the resurgence of punk, where like Rancid and Green Day and all those bands were mainstream. So I'd see like, Green Day wearing like, chain wallets and like cool t-shirts. I'm like, oh yeah, they look cool. I want to wear those things. So
right.
it just stemmed from that. It stemmed from music. It stemmed from movies. To this day, movies and things like that. I take a lot of my style points and my viewpoints from movies I love. And it's I don't want to say I've only been influenced by those two things, but those are the two main things I can think of where that would be it. Because I was never the person who was like, looking at like fashion magazines or books, or like I know people who love to watch like the runway shows. I'm like, that's not for me. I think it's
Yeah.
cool. I think it's cool and it's interesting, but there's definitely like pop culture, music, movies, television.
Yeah.
You see people now who will repost like the 90s film preview, film premiere pictures and stuff like that, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, it's all cyclical in a
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we know that you do something called Alfargo's Marketplace.
Oh yeah.
How did you get started with that? Who's Alfargo?
That is a great question, and I feel like I should know that, but I don't. And I've done so many now where I should ask the guys who started it who Alfargo is, but
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I will. The next one is the 10th one we're doing, so it's an occasion.
Awesome.
Maybe I'll finally ask.
Yeah, where's the next one at?
They are all in New York City, 91 East 3rd Street. I have a date, but they didn't announce it yet, so I don't know if I can say it.
Okay.
But it's in December. It's going to be around the holidays.
Cool.
But it honestly started because one of the guys who founded it, Elias, he DM'd me on Instagram. We followed each other for a bit. He's a clothing guy, and he was seeing the things I would put in my Instagram stories, things I thrifted.
Right.
And he was like, man, would you be interested in doing like a pop-up? I see you find some cool stuff, let me know. And I sell on eBay like here and there. I'm not consistent with it. So I was like, oh, that's great. I would love to do that. So it was just a DM. And then I've done every one of them since. That was last September. So we just did number 9 last
That's
month.
awesome, man. Yeah.
And number 10 is next month. And it's honestly, man, it's been not just because I get to sell stuff and, make some money here and there. It's just so great to be around like-minded people from all walks of life. I mean, it's New York City. It's just a melting pot.
Right.
It's just wonderful. And Stefan, Nick, and Elias, the guys who run it, are really great, and they keep welcoming me back. And like I said, I've done them all, and as long as they keep asking me back, I'll keep doing them. It's great, and it's gained some traction. Now I'd say the first 2 or 3 we had to get some people in the door. It was a little difficult, but now the last 2 is so busy. It's been really great. Maybe you guys will get there one day. We'll see. It'd be nice.
Yeah, that would be sick, man. I'm also like, I do a lot of markets with the
I see that.
clothing, and like it's so nice to like be face to face with someone and see them get visibly excited, rather than like posting something on eBay and who knows what the person that buys it is looking for it because a particular reason. But
it's wonderful. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had people go, oh, I'm gonna, a lot of couples like buying things for each other, and and it's funny because it's advertised as like a menswear garage sale, but a ton of women come and buy stuff, which is so cool.
Oh, for sure.
And it's just been so great to just meet people that I can now call friends.
Totally.
It's so nice.
Do
And
they do kind of a revolving cast of vendors, or
they do and they don't. I'm the one seller who's been there every time. I think it might be a location thing because I'm not too far away.
oh, gotcha.
And I have the weekends free, so it's pretty easy to schedule it ahead of time. But there have been sellers that have been there multiple times. There's only been maybe the first two. There were some sellers I haven't seen since. Maybe it wasn't their best sale day. Maybe they just can't make it. I don't know what it was.
Right.
There's definitely been a few rotating sellers, but for the most part, I would say there's me and maybe 2 or 3 others that have been there multiple times. But I'm the only one who's been there every time. And it's a point of pride now. I got to keep going.
Oh, fuck yeah, dude.
And it's great. And it's, again, besides all that great stuff, it's great to know that, I'm obsessed with this stuff and it's not just me.
Right.
It's so nice. And on top of the fact that all I do is buy. So once in a while I got to sell stuff. So.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
I'm like, this is where's the money?
It's like a real life version of the Style Forum thrift thread, I would assume.
Yes, which
that's where I know you from.
I'm still in there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I have not been in a while, but
I don't really post. I just read it every now and then. Yeah.
I'm happy to know that it's still going.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure.
So I was going to ask you, and this is just sort of a whatever question, but what is the number one thrift find for you? I guess going back your whole career.
Oh man. Well, there's two. I ramble, so I'm gonna apologize in advance.
No.
Yeah, we're rambling people too.
I love it. Well, I would thrift in high school because of, like I said, bands I would see when I was coming up, early 2000s. A lot of those bands would wear like Little League T-shirts and all that stuff, and I'm like, oh, where'd they get those? At the thrift store. But the thrifting I do now, that started about 8-9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So since then, I mean, I have been so lucky where I've found so much great stuff. But things that keep coming back to me, because I have had people, especially at Alfargo's, they go, oh, this is all thrifted, this is all secondhand. Like, what's your best thrift find? They want to talk about it. Ironically, I have found so much Brunello Cucinelli, which is great, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't know why or how, but I have. I came across a Cucinelli suede vest lined with cashmere, no joke, in a bin at a yard, a milk crate at a yard sale for $1.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't know what it was at the time. I had no
Right.
clue. That was a good one. Carasini, which I'm pretty sure, I don't want to be wrong, I think is only bespoke. Like, I don't think Carasini makes ready to wear from what I know. A Carasini overcoat, I think it was $17. Which again, I think is bespoke, so you have to go get it made. So that's finding that secondhand's wild.
Yeah. That's so funny. It's like, yeah, people just get rid of stuff, I guess. They outgrow it. They die.
They outgrow it. They pass. It could just be they have the money where they're like, I don't like it anymore. I'll get a new one. It could be that. Or even if they know it's worth something, they don't have the time or the patience to sell it. I mean, I've found so much Alden, which is great. Shell Cordovan. I mean, Laura Piana stuff, cashmere sweaters. I mean,
you're kind of in the mecca of this type of thing.
That's the thing. I feel bad sometimes when I get a DM from someone who's like, dude, I can't believe, again, like, you found this, like,
it's me every time. That's me every single fucking time. I'm the person he's talking about.
It's happened a few times. But dude, believe me, if it was reversed, I'd be like, what the god damn it, man? Like, what are you doing to me? You're killing me.
Right.
I get it. I mean, when I first got into it, you mentioned the Style Forum thread. Matt who does Luck Swap, who is a fantastic guy, so great, so generous.
Oh, totally, man.
But he used to find shit where I'm like, this guy's, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Like,
So
Uh,
there are people who you even are envious of.
there was. That's a bold statement, but I don't think he thrifts much anymore. He's so busy with his store and consignment
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
Which great for him. He's awesome. Um, and also too, this is probably pretty obvious, but the stuff I look for, I know Matt, you thrift. Connor, I know you both thrift. Most people, especially around here, aren't looking for the stuff I'm looking for.
Right.
They're looking for 90s like pop culture stuff, 90s like sports stuff, streetwear, band T-shirts. I mean, I like that stuff too, but I'm looking for, I call it like the grandpa stuff. Like I want that stuff.
Right. And the
Mhm.
menswear kind of thing always ebbs and flows. Like,
Yes.
you know, 5, 6, or maybe not that long, or not that short ago, but like, 2015, 2014, like that was hugely popular and
Oh
everyone
yeah.
kind of was into that, and like things change. But,
Yeah.
the kind of people that are still into it, you're finding stuff that you enjoy, and they, you've got that connection with them.
Yeah. You guys just had Zach on. I would look at his Tumblr all the time, like, wow, he finds the most amazing stuff.
Oh,
But like you
totally,
said,
totally.
yeah, but it was old tweeds, like Ivy League stuff, like very New England, and he would find that stuff all the time. Like, man, like I gotta start thrifting.
Right,
And
right.
I'm just lucky now that the stuff I look for isn't what most people look for, because the thrifts on Long Island are they're busy all the time,
Oh, I can imagine. Yeah.
but it's not really people looking for the stuff I'm looking for, so it's kind of goes under the radar a bit.
Nice.
And it's also what people who maybe someone just started, they don't really know what they're looking for. They're just trying to get a feel for it.
Right, right.
So, but
Uh,
I'm very lucky.
so to piggyback on Connor's initial question,
Mhm.
what is your biggest regret of something you did not buy?
Oh man, that's tough.
Not to trigger you.
Yeah, no,
I don't
dude,
want to have.
I've
We're having
got something I
flashbacks.
think about literally almost every day. So
That's a great question. Are you asking if it in terms of something I would have kept for myself, or something that if I bought, I could have sold it for like a decent amount of money, or both? Probably
either
both.
way, yeah,
Yeah, I would
whatever.
say either way.
Yeah.
Well, I know for a fact. Again, I'm talking about this polo coat I just grabbed. A thrift that I used to go to years ago that it's closed, it's gone, doesn't exist. It was a small church thrift, which are always the best.
Mm-hmm.
I can literally picture it in my head, the rack, which is so stupid, but a rack with two back to back, one camel hair, one like wool herringbone polo coats. I think they were $40-$50 a piece, and I'm like, $40-$50, I'm not paying that. So I left them, and that haunts me every day because they're significantly more money now, especially old polo ones. I would say those two polo coats, and when I first started, like, maybe the first year or two I was thrifting. Again, I don't know why this stuff is so clear in my head, but it is.
Dude, I feel it.
In a small thrift again, it still exists, it's still around. Distinctively remember seeing a Brunello Cucinelli cashmere sweater, and it was $20. I'm like, $20? No way. And I left it there. So I'm like, $20? Are you kidding me?
Right.
So those stick out in my head. But I think about all the things that I don't even see that get bought, which is a whole other.
Oh yeah,
That's
that's
a
very existential part of
Yes.
being a picker.
Yes, but I would say those two. And I have a friend, my friend Gideon, who's great. He's big into thrifting too, but he really does it more for the, like I said, pop culture stuff, sportswear. I grew up like really obsessed with Green Day, and he found a 95 Green Day Insomniac tour tee at a store I go to all the time. And I was like, "Ah, if I had just went that day, I would have found it."
Oh
So,
man, yeah.
but it went to someone who's, he's a good guy, so I'm glad he got it. But
Yeah, totally.
yes, but yeah, I mean,
and he knows that if he ever wants to get rid of it,
I DM'd him the same day, and he already sold it.
Oh damn.
I'm like, I know where you found it. I know what you paid. I'll give you whatever. He's like, it's gone. I'm like, okay.
I used to joke that I would buy things so that other people couldn't have them. And I feel like that has doomed and damned me, like in my thrifting pursuits. Cause like I just haven't found really anything at all, and maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason why I was like too my thrifting hubris.
It's hard because consistency is a big thing, but a lot of it's timing. I mean, I can think of things that I've definitely walked into a store I go to all the time, and they're literally rolling out a new rack, and I just grab it off the new rack. A lot of it's timing. That's a big part of it. Going as often as you can without overdoing it, and the timing. If you frequent a store, maybe you go even 2-3 times a week, you start to learn when they put out new inventory. You start to learn how the turnover goes, and you go based off that. Again, I don't do this full time. I do it for fun. It's nice to make some money off it here and there, but I do it because I enjoy it. It's a hobby. So I'm not as competitive. I know people who do it full time, and it's almost like life or death. They gotta find stuff every day. That takes the fun out of it. But like you said, I used to have that mentality too. I'm like, oh, this is a great piece. It has a stain in it, but I don't want to leave it. I don't want someone else to get it. So I'm gonna buy it, and then I probably just redonated it, which is so stupid. But you gotta grab it when you see it. You have to.
Yeah. So,
But
you're a touring musician for a while,
Mhm.
and what we were just wondering, what was your band called?
The band was called The World We Knew. We were like a metalcore-ish band, not like too heavy, but heavy enough. Yeah, I did that for about, I would say touring for about 3.5, maybe 4 years.
Oh yeah, and what time period?
Um, our busiest time period as a band was probably 2007 to about 2010, 11, something
Okay,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah. But I joined my first band, I think, when I was 13, 14, like locally. But that was the band that actually got to tour and stuff like that. We were on a few labels. We put out some albums on a label called Seventh Dagger, which is my friend Danny, which was a straight edge record label back in the day.
Yeah.
And then we got actually got picked up by Stillborn Records, which is Jamie Josta.
Oh shit,
Yeah,
yeah.
we did one album on Stillborn in 2009.
That's
Um,
wild, man.
yeah,
So you guys were like pretty, underground music goes. You guys were pretty like big in the scene.
it's funny because we were and we weren't. We got to a point where we were getting put on decent sized tours where we knew, okay, there's going to be people here. We didn't have to think twice about it. There'll be people at the show. We don't have to guess. But I always say we were too metal for like the hardcore fans, and we had too many hardcore elements for the metal guys. So
Right.
we could never really find our spot. The kids that liked us were really wonderful, and I actually am still friends and talk to people that I met through the band to this day, which is great. But we got on these decent sized tours through our label, which was awesome, and our friend Danny used to book us too, which was great. I don't know if we were big, but we were doing well at a point where the band was what we did,
Right.
which was nice. I mean, I would say maybe 16 months, maybe with just doing the band, which it's hard to do a band full time, especially like a heavy band.
Oh, totally, man.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're fucking Slayer or
Yes.
someone, like
Yeah.
Hatebreed.
Yeah. I mean, we got to do a short run with Hatebreed. We did like 4 or 5 dates together.
Oh, that's killer.
Yeah, and you would see like, oh, this is a tour. Like this
Right.
is, it was us, Crowbar, the Acacia Strain,
I was
Hatebreed.
just gonna mention them.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
I know, and like we rolled up to the Electric Factory in Philly, and I'm like, this is nuts.
Right.
It's just amazing.
Yeah.
How old were you? How old were you at the time?
When the band was its busiest was 2009, so that was what, math, 12, 13 years ago, so mid-20s. But at the time, I think I have a twin brother. He was in the band too. He played guitar, I played drums. We were the oldest. we were the oldest, but our guitar player, Tim, I think he was only 18 or 19. So we had some younger guys in the band. So being able to do bigger tours like that and being so young was wonderful. I mean, I was 12 years old when I first bought a Hatebreed record,
Right.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
So
What record
being
was
able to, Satisfaction, of course.
Oh, of course. Okay. Yeah,
Of course. It's a monumental album, you know.
absolutely.
So it was like, you know, life came full circle, which was great. But yeah, I was in my mid-20s, and it was a fantastic time. I'm still great friends with. I mean, I hung out with all the guys from the band last week. Like they're wonderful people, and it's great to keep in touch. One of the guys in the band, my friend Tim, he's actually in a band now. I don't know if you guys know Fit for an Autopsy. They're on Nuclear Blast. They're
Damn.
massive now. They just did a Lamb of God tour. Like, it's awesome.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Uh,
So there's still heavy tours that do very well, but it's hard to get to that point.
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
As someone that spent many times with 9 people packed in a conversion van with gear, it's like,
Oh my
okay,
God.
yeah.
We did our first tour. I think it was 50. Our first time doing the entire country. I think it was 54 days or 55. We didn't have a van. We borrowed our singer's mom's 2-door Ford Explorer
Wow.
and put a trailer on it. And we had a guitar player at the time who was like 6'2".
Yeah.
So we had it was just, I think back, I'm like, I don't even know how we survived. Like, it was
Right.
just unbelievable.
It's like you contrast that with like the Hatebreed tour, and they're just like, what on earth?
I know. I mean, we did a tour with that band, Despised Icon. I don't know if you guys know that band.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend's band at the time, this band called Winds of Plague, and that was, I mean, Winds of Plague was like at their peak at that time. So it was like massive venues. These guys are on buses. It's like, this is wild. Like, it's just the difference between the opening band and the headliner is like night and day. It's unbelievable.
Totally.
It's just so
Yeah.
nuts. It was a really great time.
So we have to ask, because we've seen him a few times as we were lurking your Instagram. Is the bearded dude that's taking selfies your twin?
Oh, like way back in the day before.
Like a while ago.
Before my feed was just pictures of my outfits. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're 2 minutes apart.
That's awesome. Because Connor and I were like, is this Shane? And then there's a picture from, I don't know, a year or two ago maybe, where he's wearing like a bike hat turned up, and you're yourself, and we were like, no, that's not Shane. But
that's my brother.
That's
Ryan.
awesome.
Yeah, we did the band together, which was great because we got to travel together. Like I said, we're 2 minutes apart. I'm lucky that he knew how to play guitar. I knew how to play drums, so it was like, let's join a band together.
Yeah. Did you guys jam like when you were little kids?
Funny, honestly, not that much. He didn't really join a band until that band, The World We Knew. I had been in bands locally before that without him. We sometimes would play together at home here and there, but we didn't really start playing together till the band. Because he didn't really start playing a lot until we joined. Because The World We Knew was a local band that had all different members besides our singer. And when our singer Frank wanted to start touring, all the other guys were like, "Oh, I can't." So Frank was like, "Well, I want to tour." So honestly, this is years ago. It doesn't matter now. Frank was like, "You're all out of the band essentially, and I'm gonna bring all new guys in because I want to tour." So we all him and I joined the band at the same time, and then that's when we started playing together way more. Obviously, every day, every day. Yeah, that's him.
So did you thrift while you were on tour? Were those two different eras of your life?
Dude, I didn't have money.
Yeah, no,
Right.
We don't know. And I guess there's no space to keep. You're not keeping a polo coat somewhere.
No, I it's funny. Again, it was so our margin, so to speak, were like razor thin. It was, we got to put gas in the van, we got to eat. Luckily enough, to the point, I played drums, so I had a lot of moving parts in terms of gear. So if I had like a kick pedal break or I had my drum throne break one time mid-song.
Oh God.
So like I had stuff breaking, so like the band would buy replacement gear, thank goodness. So in terms of money to spend on stuff not band related, it wasn't there. So we would always play this place in Michigan, I forget the town, down the block from a thrift. I remember it distinctively. And I think back on it now, I'm like, man, imagine the stuff I could have found if I was doing it when we were in the band, but I didn't have money.
Yeah.
Any cent I had would go back into gear or getting merchandise printed, fixing our vehicle, fixing our trailer. That's all I cared about back then. It was like a laser focused on the band.
Yeah. Of being in a touring band where literally like,
Mhm.
oh, we got $100 to play last night and we have an 8-hour drive. How are we paying for gas?
Dude, the $100 guarantees. That's yeah.
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 We one of my old bands played a show. I don't remember where it was, but we had like a $200 guarantee or something. I think it was in Arizona.
Mhm.
And literally we rolled up and they were asking for donations at the door. They weren't even charging.
Oh no. Did they
Yeah.
call Oh
No, and like 20 people came. And so it was like us and 2 other bands
Mhm.
and just those situations, man, unless you've been in it, you don't understand.
No. It's we the door deal was always like, oh, here we go, a door deal. They didn't want to guarantee you money. So it's like, well, I know at least 100 kids are going to show up. Don't worry about it. And we'll split the door, X amount per X amount. And it was like, wait, 17 kids showed up. They each
Right.
paid $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, do you roll the dice and just drop that show and have a 2-day drive, or do you play that show and just hope for the best?
Dude, we had a few times, not a ton, thank goodness, but a few times where we would get to a venue and it was just the show wasn't happening.
Yeah.
The people who say it was, I don't know, like a bar, and they were like, oh, we don't know anything about it.
Right.
The promoter never showed up and we'd just be stuck there. We actually, again, no names named, nothing. We actually went to a kid who booked us, I think in Philadelphia, somewhere in Pennsylvania. We actually went to his house and knocked on the door and we were like, can we have our money?
Right.
And his roommate was like, well, he's at school. We went to his school and we waited outside and we're like, you need to pay us. Because we're not like those types of people, but we were like, you told us we were playing the show and you just didn't show up.
Right.
And it was a tour package, like 4 bands.
Oh, good God.
And you didn't even come to the venue. The show didn't happen and you just weren't there.
Right.
And we got our guarantee, and the next day the other bands were like, did you get ours? And we're like, no. Like, no. We spent all day trying to find this guy to get our money, and
right. And the kid probably had like, your guarantee in his bank account, and that was it.
Yeah. It sounds so bad now, but it's like like that it was so cutthroat. If it was $100, like it was life or death sometimes.
Totally.
What a wild time.
So on that note, I think the last thing we had on the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I have noticed some sort of connection. I can't put a name on it, but between like, the people that came from a subculture and are now really into clothing. Do you think that there, in your experience, is some connection between kind of like thrifting and punk rock and then like counterculture as a whole? Because it kind of sounds like that's the world you came from.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like I said, I grew up, completely obsessed with music, and when I found the local scene, and then I branched out from that. Again, I would see these bands wearing, clothes that I would later find out, oh, that's like they got that at a thrift store.
Right,
so
right.
I wanted to do that. I wanted to go find these clothes based on this music video I saw, or this live, someone videotaped it on their old, like, I had like a VHS tape of some band playing a VFW. I'm like, oh, those jeans are cool. Where'd they get those?
Right.
9 times out of 10, it was thrifted. So it was a huge connection. It's a huge connection.
That's awesome. Yeah. And it kind of seems like you keep that same vibe too, like even to modern day. you know, you're like you said, everything you wear is pretty much secondhand. So
Yeah, it's very rare when it's not. I have to really love something, and or it has to be something that, you know, you see a piece and you're like, I can't. It sounds dramatic, but like I can't sleep. I gotta get it.
right.
But most of the time, yeah, it's just it's 99% of my stuff is all vintage secondhand. And yeah, it definitely stems from that. I mean, I don't know if I'm sure you guys are familiar with Wooden Sleepers.
Right. Yeah. Brian.
Brian, who when I first went to his store back when he had a store in Brooklyn, like we realized, oh, we were in the same room a lot. Like I would see his old band all the time.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because he's not like, I think he's a couple of years older than you and I are.
I think he just turned 40. I think.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, but we realized like, oh shoot, we know a lot of the same people, and and when he said his band name, I'm like, oh, I've seen your band. So that's a great example. Someone who makes their living in vintage came from this underground music scene.
Oh, totally.
You know, which is like you said, it's just like it all goes together, all the subculture stuff, maybe it's like a punk thing too. Like, oh, I don't want to wear what you're wearing. I want to go find something rare or different.
I'm not shopping at JCPenney. Like
exactly. I rather put a little effort in and find something really unique. And it's all related.
And not to return to this thing we talked about at the beginning, like the nonverbal communication, but I do think if you think of a hardcore show, right? You think of a punk show, it's loud. You're not talking. And so the way that you have to communicate is your clothing. And so it was odd for me seeing these guys who just like would beat the shit out of each other at the shows, like really giving a shit about the like tidiness of their sneakers.
That's a great point. Well, I mean, I think about back when I was doing the band I was in, and we would be, taking, I don't know, like a stupid little promo photo and be like, oh, I have to wear a friend's band's t-shirt so people know that I like this band. You gotta, like you said, you're not speaking, there's music playing at a show. If you wear the cool shirt, if you wear the cool shoes, that's how you can communicate with people. Like, whoa, that guy likes that band or that guy likes that brand. That's cool. So you immediately know a little bit about the person just by what they're wearing, which is really interesting. And it's the same thing with the stuff I like now. If I'm out and I see like someone wearing, is that a Shetland sweater? Like I do it all the time. Like, that's cool. Like, what are those shoes? I do it all, just instinctively do it. Same thing with watches. I'm like, what watch is that?
Right.
It's the same thing. And you don't even know these people. You just see somebody.
Yeah, it's all about the observation. If you're into something, you pick up on it no matter what.
All the time.
Well, Shane, dude, it's been awesome having you on the show.
This is great.
Yeah, dude, it was a fun conversation, and
I'm glad we got to do it finally. Long time coming.
Totally. But yeah, we want to give you a chance to kind of shout out yourself, the market, whatever you want to.
Sure. I'm just, ironically, I've never made like an official, any official social media for like my vintage stuff, but I'm just Shane Joseph with the underscore on Instagram. I just post pictures of stuff I wear. I post thrift finds in my stories, and Alfargo's is just Alfargo's Marketplace on Instagram. Everything on there in terms of the next sale, photos from the previous sales, it's all on there. My eBay is in my IG bio, so people can find it there if they want to find some cool stuff. And if anyone's listening, and if I post something in my stories you like, you can always message me on there if you want to pick something up. I'm always down for that.
Hell yeah.
That's me. That's me in a nutshell.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening to Apocalypse Duds. I'm Matt Smith. And yeah.
See, here we go. Right. I'm at Connor Fowler. Matt is at Rebels Rogues. We thank you all for listening, for all of your help, for listening to my nagging. And we hope you will join us next time on Apocalypse Duds. Oh, and you can email us. No one has ever emailed us. apocalypseduds@gmail.com.
There you go.
Awesome.
So that's it, fellas.
Dude, that was solid.
Thanks, guys. I didn't want to go on too much, but I didn't want to leave anything out. So
no, man. Like that was a nice conversation, and
that was good.
I think it flowed well, and
It did. I definitely heard pods where I'm like, where are they going? Not you guys, other pods.
Yeah. It's also funny, like I asked you in the text thread, like if you'd seen Foundation. It's just hilarious that's a thing that happens. So,
dude, I mean, were you in the? Did you join the band at a certain point? Did you were you in the band from the start?
I was in a band called Overdose before and concurrently, and then one of the original guitarists, Foundation, broke.
Okay.
And I joined in I think Edge Day 2007 was my first show with them.
Did you guys ever play at those Edge Fests?
We played one in Haverhill, Mass in 2007, and we also recorded the first like EP or 7-inch that we put out that same week.
Oh wow.
And I mean, we toured with Have Heart and Title Fight and Forfeit from Syracuse a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah, we probably been in the same room at some point in time.
Well, that's what I was saying before about, the band I was in. We were too, the metal guys were like, they're not metal enough, and the hardcore guys,
right.
They're too metal. So we didn't really ever find our place.
Yeah, it's weird, man. And coming from the early 2000s when, like you said, or like we were talking about, everybody kind of played together.
Yes.
It's funny that kind of broke up, but I think it's kind of come back to that now from what I put together.
Oh, it definitely has. I see local shows posted on Instagram sometimes. I'm like, wow, these bands are mixed. It's
cool.
It's
like an indie rock band and an electronic band, a metal band, and a hardcore band together. And you're like, okay, all right.
Yeah. I think it's because kids now are sort of looking back when we were coming up, like, oh, that was a cool time.
Right, totally.
Let's make our own, which is.
I've
been
listening to a lot of Archangel this year, so I have also been going back to that.
Oh yeah, dude. I try to listen to new music, but which I do enough of, but I definitely go back to stuff from 20 plus years ago.
Oh, totally.
It's great.
I guess we have become old, though. I mean, I feel like that is a thing that old people do.
Yeah.
Well,
I tried to listen to a band called Soul Blind yesterday. They just put out a new record, and it's very Helmet alt rocky. But I just hate the fucking vocals.
That is my friend Tom, who's in Straight from the Path.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah.
They're on his label.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. There's a local band.
It might be something that I need to listen to a little bit more, but I was just I can't the more high pitched vocals with the super heavy, riffing. I was just I don't know about this.
Yeah, it's straight up just you would see them on 120 Minutes back in 1990.
Right. Yeah. Very very quicksandish.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been trying to listen to more modern music lately. Just sometimes it's hard.
Me too. I still have friends that are doing bands, and I try to listen to their stuff, but for the most part, it just comes in waves. Some days I want to listen to just heavy stuff. Totally. Some days I want to listen to New Found Glory. So it's
right.
it's always, it just depends on the day. I mean, Satisfaction, I think last Friday was the 25th anniversary. 25 years ago. It's unbelievable. Still so good. Still so relevant.
Still holds up. Buried Alive, Death
my
Be
God.
Perfect World. Front to back banger.
I love Buried Alive. I don't like Terror, which is funny.
I like Terror up to a point, but
true.
The first couple of records, and then One with the Underdogs is kind of meh.
Yeah.
But Scott Vogel is Scott Vogel. So.
Yeah, it's hard. Imagine being like I just mentioned, Tom, Straight from the Path. They've been a band almost 20 years now.
Right.
They were a band that my band, when I was 18, we would play shows all the time. And they were a completely different band. They were a Dillinger sort of all over the place, crazy, mathy band.
Right. Now they're more than Marauder vein, right?
Actually, Stray is. Stray gets a lot of crap for being just a discount Rage Against the Machine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of somebody else.
Maybe, but it's just I mean, to be a band for that long and to still be doing it like as your job is unbelievable.
Right. Yeah.
And not being, you know, Lamb of God or something.
Yeah. Or like Converge, like my buddy Nate.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Nate Newton.
Oh, nice.
It's crazy to see, like, they've literally been a band for almost 40 years at this point.
I know. I remember buying that. They put out that huge like career spanning DVD, and I watched that thing like every day.
Right.
And there was footage in there from like '93. I'm like, they were a band in '93. I was in
Yeah,
third grade.
it's crazy.
I was in third grade. Like,
Yep.
it's unbelievable. But you're right, they still do it, and they don't even have to. They don't have to tour full time, which is the coolest thing.
No, Nate's in like 3 other bands. So
Yeah.
You know.
God.
All right, Connor. Sorry, you know me and talking about music.
Me too.
No. I mean, it's like, I will just say this, which I don't know. Like, I was really interested in heavy music, we can call it. And like, now I only listen to rap music. I just like got tired of yelling white people.
That's, I get that, because again,
which is an oversimplification, I can acknowledge, but like, not that much of an oversimplification.
No, it's not. You're right.
Right.
I get that. I mean, I was saying, my brother, I had to watch my niece last week because he went to see the Mensingers.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, man, I just have no desire to see live music. Like,
Yeah.
I listen to it every day, but I don't want to go see it. I would see it every day for years when I was touring.
Yeah, I feel like that a lot too.
Yeah,
just like I'll just put on a record and you know, just jam out in my car or something.
Yeah, put the
there's a big Trapped Under Ice show, which maybe has already happened, but I guess they're like having a Baltimore show, which is like a big deal.
Yeah.
But I think tickets for it are like $1 million at this point.
I'm sure. God, we used to play the Auto Bar all the time.
Oh, man,
that's like right near my house. I go there all the time. I should have fallen down the stairs there many times.
That stage was a nightmare.
I can imagine.
Everything about it is a nightmare. That's not a place where like many people would ask, how exactly did 500 people die inside the fire?
Yeah. Some of my favorite venues were like that though. So.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
You know, like it's just was a wild time, man.
It was. I was like I said, I was with the guys I was in the band with last week, and 2 of them still tour. One of them's in a band, one of them just tour manages. And they were like, dude, it's so different now. It's so much more organized.
Right.
There's really no D-market tours anymore. It's either you're on a huge tour or you're on like a smaller huge tour.
Right.
There's none of those like you and I did. There's none of those tours happening anymore.
Yeah, there's no 3 touring bands playing a house show.
No. And I think it's honestly, it makes me
God bless America.
I think it's social media. Like, if you're a band now, you have an Instagram and you have 100,000 followers or whatever, you know, you can get a pretty decent following just by your social media.
Oh, totally.
You know, like, it's just so different now. I would never want to tour though. I can't think about that anymore.
Yeah.
But man, what a world! What a crazy time.
Truth. Well,
I don't regret it. I just wouldn't do it now.
Yeah, it's a good experience, man.
Yes.
Well, now you have an adult brain.
That too. Like I said when we were doing the pod before, I was laser. All I cared about was the band.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, what would you recommend? What should I check out?
In terms of like heavy music?
No, your band. Are you on the internet?
Actually, yeah. Our singer, I think about a year ago, he actually went through all the loopholes and he got everything cleared and he put it on Apple Music.
It's not on Spotify?
I think it is. Let me check.
Okay.
I only did two. I only recorded the drums for 2 records because after I left the band, actually, me, my brother, and our bass player all left at the same time. So they put out a record after I was in the band. But I'll send you guys a link to the Spotify for the record the one record we did with Stillborn that was like, I guess, our quote unquote biggest. I'll send you guys a link to that.
Awesome.
And that's me on the drums. Yeah, I'll send it in the text in a second.
Yeah.
Keep in mind, it was a long time ago.
Dude, I feel you.
It's not bad by any means. We just wanted to be Black Dahlia Murder, honestly. That's all we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So you'll definitely hear those influences. Black Dahlia with like unearthed breakdowns. That's what we wanted to do. So
Oh, absolutely.
yeah, which is still fun.
We were all there at one point or another.
I don't know how to even qualify what I was listening to. Like Through the Eyes of the Dead, Job for a Cowboy. Like the more that it was, the better that it was.
God, we played before we were a touring band and we were a local band. We were we were asked to be the local band the first time Job for a Cowboy played Long Island. It was a VFW, 600 people. 600.
That's insane.
Their drummer was 16 at the time.
That's
and
crazy.
They were that was 2006 or 7 when metalcore, like we called it MySpace metal.
Right, yeah.
Was the biggest thing on the planet. Through the Eyes of the Dead, As Blood Runs Black, Job, Suicide Silence, all those bands were massive.
Yeah.
Massive.
That was kind of before the resurgence of like hardcore, and I feel like more like thrashy kind of metal, like Municipal Waste and shit like that. And so that it's so funny, like, you know, as we get older, you can kind of track the timeline of things. Like, just talking about this is so funny to me.
I know. I think
I like that shit though, like a bass drop. Like I like a breakdown that is absurd.
Yeah, totally.
Oh yeah, me too. I still to this day, I'm like, I catch myself listening to like absurdly heavy stuff. I'm like, I still like this, honestly.
It just makes you feel a certain type of way. It's very much like, because people would always be so surprised at my attire, you know, like I wore a tie to the shows that I was going to. I wore a tweed jacket to the shows that I was going to. No. And like people were like, what in the fuck are you like? Because I'm a redhead already. So I already stand out way more than I would like. And it's just like knit tie at the Job for a Cowboy show.
And they're like, crowd kill that guy.
Yeah, dude, that's why I stayed out, because I'm little and I don't like pain.
You know what's funny? I always when I think about this stuff, I think to myself, you look at me now, it's like, oh, that guy was in like a metal band. That's weird. But if I wasn't playing the show, I probably wouldn't have been there.
Right.
Like I didn't dislike the music. I just disliked the local scene back then was very cliquey, you know, stuff like that. So if I would play, load out, and half the time I would just go home. I just wanted to play my drums. I didn't want to be at the show. So to this day, if they were like, oh, do you want to play this show and you get to leave, you don't have to break down your kit, you just get to leave. I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can make an exception once or twice, as long as it's the easiest thing on the planet for me.
Exactly. Actually, the band I was in, 2019, Frank, our singer, he actually got a few guys together and he played a quote unquote reunion show with different guys. And he was like, hey, do you want to jump on the drums and play a song at the show? And I was like, okay, 3 minutes. I get to play the drums in front of people and then I just get to leave. And it's great.
Right.
Not my drum kit. Beat the shit out of it and then go home. So it's great.
Do you still play? Do you still play drums?
I have my hi-hats, my kick, and my snare set up, and I mess around a bit. I haven't played in front of people since I played that one song at that show like 3 years ago now. Not really, honestly. I mean, I can
no judgment or shame here.
Yeah.
Like, I used to play guitar for like 12 hours a day, and I don't play at all anymore. I have one hanging on my wall in my office.
Yeah, I have it. Like, I still have it in me. Like, you know, I would if, not that I don't want to. It's just, I don't know. I did it so much for so long that I just don't feel the need to. Like, I still love music. I listen to it every day. I can still play, like, physically. I don't know. I think I did it for so long. I got so burnt out on it. And towards the end of the band, there was a lot of, you know, we weren't getting along and stuff like that. Maybe there's like negative connotations with it. But so the short answer is yes and no. Here and there. Yeah. I'll jump on the kick and the snare and the hat for like 20 minutes. But then the dogs go crazy and I stop. So
right.
Yeah. I'd like to get an electronic and an e-kit, but it's just they're expensive.
Yeah, dude. Music gear. I've been obsessively searching for like a new guitar and amp setup for the past like month. It's gone actually more obsessively for a month, but for the past like 6 months total. Yeah, it's gone through the roof for pretty much anything.
Yeah, I towards the end I was getting the Sam Ash that's closest to where I live. They had a lot of secondhand stuff, so I was able to get like I obviously could play the drums, but I had like no technique. I would just smash shit.
Right.
I had cracked cymbals all the time and stuff like that, so I was able to get stuff cheap secondhand. But I mean, I remember buying a Zildjian like when I had money from like I don't know a birthday or Christmas. I bought a Zildjian, like an A custom. It was like $350, and this was like 2004.
Right.
You know, so now, like you said, now I think quarantine though, people who, you know, a couple of years ago, quarantine, I think people were picking up instruments or learning instruments.
Mm-hmm.
So like, you know, staying home, like I'm going to teach myself piano. So it's like the prices went up.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
It's
kind of
hog shit though. That is not.
Well, I mean, even pretty much anything that is kind of collectible skyrocketed.
They're increasing the prices because they're fucking greedy.
Well, that too. But I mean, even I'm not even talking about new instruments. I'm talking about like the secondhand market mostly.
Which also has people in control of the prices.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like looking at eBay for something and seeing a jacket listed for $3,000, and then you look at sold listings and like none of these have sold for 9 months. So it's like people thinking like, oh, I've got some gold, man. I'll throw it on Reverb, and it's like, nah, that it sits there for 9 months, and then nobody buys it.
I found a coat over the summer, like a Abercrombie and Fitch from I think like the late 20s, early 30s.
Oh God, yeah.
And I put it in my stories, and I got a DM from someone, and he said, "Where did you find this? You know, can you give me details on it?" I sent him pictures. I sent him everything I could on the measurements, everything. He goes, "I showed it to a friend who's into this stuff." He said, "You know, if it was in a little, you know, because it's kind of rough, it's old,
right?"
And he's like, if it was in better shape, he would pay like $2,500 for it. He's like, don't sell it for less than $2,000. I'm like, I still have it. No one's buying it for $2,000.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's you could think something is worth something, but it's just worth what someone wants to pay for it.
Yep.
You know, it's fantastic. It's so cool when I'm like, I'm not getting my hopes up.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I paid $8 for it. So,
you know, maybe with your, I don't necessarily want to sell it price, somebody will pull the trigger, but
yeah, I have it up for, I think I have it up for $2,000 or best offer. I actually got a few offers on it, but it was like, I had paid $8 for it. So if I get $500 for it, I'll take it.
Yeah, totally, man. Totally.
But he's like, don't take less than $2,000 or $2,500. Don't do it. There's collectors in Japan that would buy it. I'm like, where are they? Where are they?
Right. They have eBay also.
Yeah, it's just like so silly.
It's all subjective.
100%. 100%. Most of it is. Most things are.
All right. Well, I think I'm gonna have to eat some dinner.
Yeah.
I might just leave this in. Can you think of anything that we said that was like not good?
In the past 20 minutes? No.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we kept everything like we weren't like talking shit about anyone.
No. I was actually trying to be. I'm not that type of person. I was trying to be mindful of like, don't say something bad about a band or a brand.
Yeah, you seem like that type of person. It's so
maybe
good.
This could be our first with a bonus conversation episode.
Someone's gonna be like, "Job for a cowboy? What?"
Yeah, dude. I loved Job for a Cowboy. I could sing every song.
That Doom EP was like, everybody was listening to that. It did
literally
not matter.
Never heard this band in my life.
It was amazing. And somebody did that. They dubbed over a SpongeBob SquarePants episode, which was like even better than the album. It was like so. This was early YouTube days.
I think the main thing about that band was that they were all in like high school. I think they were teenagers.
Yeah, and they were really young.
It was the first extreme metal band to really blow up because of the internet, honestly, to me
Right.
at least.
Yeah.
But like by going viral, and I think
Yes.
Like you said, it was the MySpace music days.
Yes,
Like,
and next thing you know, they were on Metal Blade, and
yeah.
ironically, they put out records on Metal Blade that are like real good, like death metal records. They're good.
Yeah.
The stuff they put out is actually very good. But yeah, they were like the pioneers of that world. That was the issue with us, the band I was in, that we were not that heavy.
Right.
So kids were like, "Oh no, it's not the same thing."
I just wanted, as the adjective that they were using at the time, brutal.
Mhm.
Like that's what I wanted, was the brutal death metal.
Oh
I
my
don't
God.
know why. I don't know what was wrong with me.
I still listen to some stuff like that, but yeah, you're right. At that time, it was, the imagery with like the merchandise and the album art and like the song titles. It was like the
Chased
Grover.
through the woods by a rapist, like all that kind of
Exactly.
shit. Just
The,
like
the shirts with like heads on spikes, and it's like
I had a chainsaw belt buckle. Yeah,
can't say I did.
yeah.
Big
Well,
fan.
it was ironic. It was I mean, the
Yeah.
whole of it was like this obsession with like hyper violence.
Mhm.
And for me, with my like really long curly red hair, it's like, well, clearly this is a fucking joke. I have a chainsaw belt buckle and hoodie.
Well, that goes back to what I was saying when we were recording. I was saying that, feeling comfortable in clothing when I was in that world, and I would wear a band T-shirt with like blood on it. I'm like, this is not me. This isn't me. But I just like this band a lot. Or maybe I'm friends with this band and they gave me a shirt. I'm gonna wear it. But me, I'm not the guy who wears this stuff. But it's just what you did back then.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing a Shetland sweater. I was wearing like a death metal band T-shirt.
Right.
But it wasn't what I wanted to wear, but I just liked the music.
Yeah. There just weren't really other choices, and it's like you
No.
sort of wanted to fit in.
You would see, it's funny, I keep talking about this stuff, but I would see merchandise for bands sort of shift as the years went on. It went from like really big prints and like you said, images of like gore and like violence to more of like there was a band, I forget the name, but a lot of their merch was like collegiate. It looked like a crest, and it was like a lot more accessible, I guess you would say. So things shifted in like the 2010s, 2011.
Right.
But that like 2006 to 2010 window, it was like the Wild West when it came to like heavy music, and it was just so nuts. It's crazy. Cool times though. I'm glad they happened.
Same here.
Yeah.
All right, dudes.
Yes. This was very fun.
Whatever.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna see what it looks like to edit this thing, and
sorry.
No. I'm not gonna fuck with it at all. I don't think. Like, I think that it was more like I'm gonna cut this off of the end, and I'm gonna cut off the beginning as well. But I think that it was for the most part fine.
Cool.
Yeah, it was good.
All right.
Well, thanks again.
Yeah, thanks,
Shane.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.